senator to introduce a bill to oversee Chinese sister cities, preventing espionage and influence. Fears over Beijing's growing presence in Antarctica. China bans executives from 2 Taiwan arms suppliers from entering country. Chinese man arrested in Pakistan for alleged blasphemy.
U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee will introduce new legislation to oversee partnerships of U.S.-China sister cities to prevent the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, from undermining American interests. In the House, Representative Chip Roy is also introducing a companion bill. According to Breitbart, Blackburn's Sister City Transparency Act would order the Government Accountability Office to investigate sister city partnerships. The move from the Tennessee lawmaker is to ensure transparency and ensure that the CCP does not take advantage of these relationships to conduct espionage on American soil and coerce local American politicians. Blackburn said the CCP uses the Sister Cities program because that is where they can begin to build relationships with people at the local level and target people that they feel are going to move up through the ranks. The U.S. has 1,800 sister city partnerships with many cities worldwide for cultural exchange and economic development. Of those cities, the U.S. has 157 sister city alliances with China. Blackburn warned that currently there is little regulation on sister city partnerships, leaving them at risk of political and economic coercion. Blackburn cited the CCP's attempt to exploit the sister city partnership between Prague and Shanghai to persuade Prague to agree with its nationalist One China policy. Shanghai terminated the sister city cooperation with Prague in 2020 after Prague's mayor refused to do so. In 2019, the Hoover Institution at Stanford University published a report, China's Influence and American Interests. The report also addressed sister city partnerships with China, noting that China pursues sister city relationships under an organization called the Chinese People's Association for Friendship with Foreign Countries, that aims to strengthen the rule of the CCP and increase China's influence overseas. In 2020, then-Secretary of State Mike Pompeo warned of these partnerships, saying, Chinese Communist Party officials are cultivating relationships with county school board members and local politicians, often through what are known as sister city programs.
New satellite images reveal that China has stepped up the construction of a 5th Antarctic base, raising surveillance fears. Western governments fear that this growing polar presence by Beijing is not to develop new shipping routes to the Arctic, but to provide it with better capabilities to spy on other nations. Satellite images compiled by a Washington-based think tank show that construction of China's 5th station in the South Polar region resumed for the first time since 2018, when its progress had stalled. Several new support facilities, buildings, a helipad, and foundations for a larger main building were identified at the 5,000 square meter station. Experts estimate that this Chinese base in the Ross Sea area could be completed by 2024. Why is this a concern? Reuters quoted a report by the Center for Strategic and International Studies. While the station can provide tracking and communications for China's growing array of scientific polar observation satellites, its equipment can concurrently be used for intercepting other nations' satellite communications. Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, report cited by Reuters. Scientists warn that the structure is ideally placed to collect intelligence data from Australia and New Zealand and telemetry data on rockets launched from Australia's new Arnhem Space Center. The truth is that the Chinese Communist regime does not hide its ambitions in the region. As the CSIS report mentions, despite being located some 1,400 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle, China has called itself a near-Arctic state and declared it wants to become a major polar power by 2030. The 2020 edition of Science and Military Strategy, an influential textbook on military thinking published by China's National Defense University, even bluntly states that combining military and civilian is the primary way great powers achieve a polar military presence. And the military presence in the polar region is precisely something the Pentagon mentioned in a 2022 report. There it says that the 5th research base is suspected to be intended to strengthen China's future claims to natural resources and maritime access and enhance the capabilities of the People's Liberation Army. This would violate the 1959 Antarctic Treaty, to which China is also a party, which states that only activities for peaceful purposes are allowed on the continent. Military personnel may conduct scientific research but are prohibited from establishing bases, conducting maneuvers, or testing weapons. But China has already demonstrated its militarization power in the South China Sea, with its artificial islands filled with weaponry, missile planes, and spy planes to fulfill Beijing's geopolitical ambitions. Would a similar development in the coveted polar region be unlikely? What do you think? We invite you to leave your comments. Senior managers at two U.S. firms, Raytheon Missiles and Defense and Lockheed Martin, have been forbidden to set foot in China. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce said on April 18th that the entry ban was imposed on February 18th. It stated that the two aerospace and defense firms have been selling arms to Taiwan, the self-ruling island that China has vowed to take back by force if necessary. Following the ban, executives from the two companies cannot enter, work, stay, or live in China. Those affected by the measure are James Donald Takelet, Frank Andrew St. John, and Jesus Malave from Lockheed Martin. With Raytheon Missiles and Defense, China named Wesley D. Kramer, Agnes Soder, and Chander Nijhan. China also forbade the two U.S. firms from trading with Chinese enterprises, saying it wants to keep their military businesses from using Chinese products. According to Voice of America, Taiwan sources most of its weapons from the U.S., which is abided by the Taiwan Relations Act to offer the island the means to defend itself. The publication reported that Raytheon Missiles and Defense landed a $412 million contract to boost Taiwan's military radar as part of a $1.1 billion extensive U.S. arms transaction with Taiwan last September.
Police report that a Chinese man surnamed Tian was arrested. According to Deutsche Welle, a citizen group accused Tian of making inappropriate remarks against Allah. As a result, on Sunday, April 16th, a group of citizens filled the street, and hundreds of people stormed into the police station in the town of Comela, looking for the man because they believed he was hiding there. However, the police moved him to another place by helicopter, fearing the mob would attack him. Nasir ud-Din Khan, a local police officer, said, "It was not until the police showed a copy of the blasphemy indictment that the mob gradually dispersed." The blasphemy allegations stemmed from an altercation at Pakistan's most significant water conservation project. There are both Pakistani and Chinese working on the construction site. During the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, workers were unhappy about being told that the progress of work was too slow. A source who asked to remain anonymous said, "The workers believed that although they were fasting, it did not affect the progress of the project. The two sides disagreed, and there was a fierce dispute." The police officer said workers believed the Chinese man, surnamed Tian, had made profane remarks and used words that insulted Allah. Videos circulating on social media showed protesters chanting Allahu Akbar as police fired in the air to disperse them. Police said that if the investigation showed that Tian had blasphemed Islam, he would be sent to the court for trial. So far, the Pakistani Chinese embassy has yet to comment on the arrest. While no one has ever been formally executed for blasphemy, there have been violent attacks and even hangings of those accused. In 2021, a factory manager from Bangladesh was beaten to death by a mob after being accused of ripping up a poster bearing the name of the Prophet Muhammad. According to human rights groups, blasphemy has also evolved to handle private disputes or intimidate religious minorities. Before Tian's case last week, Punjab police arrested a Muslim woman on charges of blasphemy for claiming to be the Prophet of Islam.